we are terming it as an interest network. And what we mean by an interest network is that, so you have Facebook, which is obviously the social network, which helps you connect with people that you know and you want to socialize with. An interest network is basically does two things from a consumer standpoint. It helps you connect and converse with people. And the second thing that it helps is to basically discover and consume content, but all along vertical topics of interest. So you can think of it as being a social network, but on vertical topics of interest rather than on social connections. So that's what it is in a nutshell from a user standpoint. And that is the consumer facing part of the product. And then there is the publisher facing part of the product, which basically which serves as an open distribution platform for publishers to come and publish and publicize and distribute their content. So that is the publisher facing part. And it therefore helps publishers to go after targeted user groups who are interested in their topics and distribute to a larger audience. So this is about the product. So why Droover? Why are we even trying to do some product like this? So essentially, if you look at the internet traffic on the internet, and 6-8 years back, till around 6-8 years back, it was search which was the primary driver of traffic on the internet. And if you take any external website, the amount of traffic that would be driven by search was the dominant source of traffic. But over the past few years, you can see that as a traffic referral mechanism, social has started to dominate search. And as we speak, the two curves have actually intersected. And today, social accounts for more of the traffic referrals to any third-party site compared to search, right? And we have those graphs put up there for you. But but having said that, both search and social collectively and individually don't solve the discovery problem. And the reason for that is search is primarily a pull-based mode of discovery, which means that the discovery happens only when a user triggers there's a trigger from the user side for a particular information or for particular content that the user seeks, right? And there is nothing that the search platform can do unless that trigger comes from the user. So it cannot proactively push anything onto the user. Whereas if you look at social, what it is basically a push mode of discovery. So you are connected to the social network that you have. Take any network, be it Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and whatever the network pushes to you, you are forced to consume that, right? And there is no intelligent means or there is no value add from the platform itself, which it does in terms of actually pushing relevant content to you. And also, there are no filters that the users can set in terms of what kind of information and what kinds of content gets pushed to him, right? He's pretty much held hostage by the network and what it pushes to him. So essentially, what you can think of Droover as is that we are attempting to build an intelligent push mechanism, wherein we are trying to build a push mechanism where the signal to noise ratio is much higher than what you would get in a normal social network. And because there is no intelligent push mechanism that exists today, or rather it is very inefficient, there are various categories of information which are actually having a discovery crisis. One best example is mobile apps, right? If you look at mobile apps as a category of information, the discovery of mobile apps is actually broken, because on an average, you have nearly 20,000 mobile apps which are released every year, or on an average, around 55 to 60 mobile apps are released per day. Whereas an average user samples or even tries out just one mobile app a month versus 60 per day, right? And the reason for that is categories like mobile apps or maybe events. You all partook in this event. Think of it from an event organizer standpoint. How does he market the event, right? How does he know that whom does he need to target, and how does he push his marketing message to the right segments of users whom he think would be ripe for getting that marketing message. So there are various such categories of information where users wouldn't on their own proactively go and search for it. But if it is presented in a logical manner and in a relevant manner to them, they would happily consume it. So in Silicon Valley today, as we speak, there are uh, multiple startups who are trying to figure out various means of solving these discovery problems in each of these segments. And these are all, and don't want to go into various statistics, but you go to a site like angellist.com and just say discovery, and you'll see all the startups which are working on discovery. But the problem there is, again, what is the mode, right? And what is it, a pull or a push mode, and how do you actually make sure that discovery happens efficiently? So what we are trying to do is create a intelligent push means of discovering. And the way we are trying to do that is by blending the best of search and social. So the essential tenet from search that we have tried to imbibe is really how do you, that whole needle in a haystack kind of mechanism of picking the best content and the best or the most relevant information and presenting it to the user and making sure that the signal to noise ratio is very high. So that's what we are trying to imbibe from search, and therefore the user can actually set preferences and filters on exactly what kind of things get pushed to him rather than anything and everything that the network pushes to him, right? And from the social angle, what we are trying to imbibe is the whole social feed mechanism of distribution and also engagement, right? So if you look at what is essentially how social works, is that anything that is interesting and relevant, it gets virally disseminated in no time, right? And the engagement model, which is the social field, there is something which is very addictive about it, that people are almost, it becomes like an addiction to go and check your social feed every few hours a day, and it's very high on the engagement quotient. So that's what we are trying to imbibe from social, and that's the way we try to conceive and build this product. So here's the more important and the more interesting part, because this is a big data conference, and I think this is where you'll be interested in knowing what were the technical challenges that we encountered and how we solved them. So although from a big data standpoint, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a big data problem, but when we actually first bootstrapped the product and when we built out the product, we had a traditional, MySQL database and Apache server and all that. And when we actually, Sanket's team started working on, helping me, we had another small team, and then we joined up with Sanket from Blob City. And for certain categories, when we would, the pages would just not open and load because MySQL would basically failed to handle that load. And that's because currently we are pulling around 500,000 content pieces per day. And this is just the initial pool of content. As the network of publishers and users grows and as the site grows, this is going to exponentially increase. And there's no way MySQL would really scale up to handle those kind of loads. And so that is on the volume and velocity aspect of data. And the variety of data, the way the algorithms are structured is it's a taxonomic tree structure, typical library style of categorization of content. And the algorithms, the way the ranking algorithms work is that the content within any topic competes for rankings within that topic. And they get aggregated as we move up the tree. And each content, each category has to, we have to arrive at rankings for each category, which then aggregate along the tree. So what I mean by that is, say there's an article within Android, which is ranked, say 10. But Android itself is a subset of a category like mobile. And the same article has to be, is categorized under mobile as well, except that it is not competing with just this, except that it's competing with a much larger set of articles, which would include even say iOS or Windows Mobile. So the complexity in terms of the way the algorithms work is quite high. And that's what makes it, brings in the variety aspect also into play, right? So this was from a standard traditional old school approach of doing things. This was a fairly technically challenging project, which couldn't be solved through the traditional way of using a typical lamp kind of an architecture. And that's when I met Sanket, and that's when we kind of used Infinitum to as the backend database to solve this problem. And this is the current architecture which is there. So we have the app server, which is Tomcat, and then there is a loading server, where the loading job is running, which is actually pulling in the content, and it makes REST calls on the server, and which gets loaded into the Infinitum database, and then it also simultaneously pushes it into Solr for indexing the content. And all the social interactions which happens between amongst users and the following of each user, the typical social feed, all that is getting stored in Cassandra. And the pre-populated feeds are then pushed to the user as and when the user requests for that. So, and the rich media like images and videos is stored separately in a different file system, which is shown here. And the way the ranking algorithms work is, as social interactions happen around content, we collect the social signals, which are used as inputs for the ranking algorithm, and they help rank the content based on the strength of the social signals. So any piece of content within a particular topic which gets more interest from users ranks higher in that topic. And this is based on a real-time feedback mechanism, right? So that is essentially it. Just a 2-minute sales pitch before I wind up. We just received our first round of seed funding of $1.2 million, and we are a team of 4 co-founders. Just to give you some flavor of the team, I was a venture capitalist with HSBC Private Equity before I left to start this venture. 2 of my co-founders are both from Stanford. One of them was actually a part of the core search team in Google. He led the search index, which is called TerraGoogle for Google. And he, in fact, was voted as the best product manager within Google. The other co-founder, he is also a Stanford grad. He started his startup in Stanford, and he successfully exited it to another company, and he's joined me. So we like to believe that we are a world-class team trying to build a world-class product, and I know we have a technical audience here, so anyone who's interested in joining us, please feel free to write to me. That's my email ID. Thank you.